Joining us this afternoon. We had a lovely chat with you last week, so it's nice to have you back. And as you know, this week we are I've been inviting some of our dear valued colleagues to share around a pressing concern that our members have shared with us. Before we go into that though, how about we hear a little bit about your background, your relationship with your body, because that is sort of centered around the topic today. So can you share with us anything that springs to mind when you think about a moment or a memory or some experience you had growing up that really shaped your relationship with your body?
Yeah, I guess before I grew into my sort of adult body, I remember, now I look a lot like my mom and my sister. We have exactly the same body shape. There's, without a doubt, you can pick us up in a lineup that we're all from the same, cut from the same cloth. But I guess, before that body developed and I was still in the body of a child, my mum definitely had concerns about how her body looked. And I don't remember seeing her as someone who was overweight or whatever, but she was soft and womanly, and I guess like the same as me, curvy. And I'd never seen it as a negative thing. And I remember like one day my stepdad, she was going on, I think, about feeling fat or feeling overweight. And my stepdad said, and I remember it so clearly, he said, you shouldn't do that in front of the girls because it will teach them such bad things, And I would have been maybe 8, 9, something like that, 10. But I remember it really clearly, and it just being like, what is this thing that like it's going to teach me? Like, because it was this kind of contraindication. Like, I don't see my mum as someone who was like in a body that was wrong in any way, but she was obviously unhappy with it. Mm-hmm. And just that reminder from my stepdad, who's such a lovely person, to just say, don't, careful what you say around your daughters. And I think that stayed with me for a long time, It's
amazing how those little moments, like kids really pick up on stuff, even if it wasn't really clear exactly what it was. It's like the sensation, this feeling, this knowing that something that meant that something somehow wasn't right about bodies, or there was something to be concerned about. So yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. So
tell me about how that has informed your relationship with your body growing up, or how that sort of leads you into the work that you do. I know that as a naturopath, we have lots of our members that see you as well. And though you might not specifically work just with people around food and body image issues, we have a lot of parallels in that. So just share a little bit about your professional work.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm less surprised now than I've ever been, but the more I delved into my work, the more seeing how pervasive eating disorders were and disordered eating was in society across all generations, all body shapes, all body types, all like status, everything. I guess even though I'd seen it growing up and experienced it and seen it with other people, just to see it sitting overtly in front of me and the pain and shame that is carried with that is like, it makes me want to cry, but it also makes me want to like help people a lot and help with that freedom. Yeah. And I guess, the work that we do as naturopaths is holistic. We can't just look at something in isolation from something else. We need to look at everything and how people's behaviors in life are, how they feel about themselves, how they feel about their environment, how they feel about their kitchen, like how all those kind of things play a role, as well as that patch of eczema on their arm, like we have to look at all of those things. And I think that's why the work, when you delve into it with your patients, when you talk about how their experience of food and their experience of eating and their history of eating is so important, because understanding it, like knowledge is power. I say that all the time, like understand where that's driving from, where it's coming from, and how then we can learn how to heal and change it, I guess. So that's
beautiful. Yeah. And that's I've always loved sharing your services with our members, because I know how deep you go into things and how you are really interested in the big picture. And somebody who understands that somebody's relationship with food has as much importance as just what they put in their mouths when it comes to certain things to full recovery or healing. That's really, really important. Thanks, Hannah. So let's go into the question. So the concern for this week, it's less of a question, more of a statement. It says, this member says, body shame is off the charts. I feel like I'll never accept this body of mine. I feel like I'm going backwards in self-acceptance and diets. and diet thoughts are creeping in constantly. Even though my experience with diets have been terrible, it's very seductive at the moment. I feel I'm doubting all my beliefs about HAES, but in my heart, I know it's not the case, but still the diet culture voice is very loud. And this member sounds very concerned and upset by this. So I would love to hear from your professional naturopathic perspective and, you know, your own sort of lived experience and working with people. What would you share with a member like this?
I mean, I have heard every single diet, like known to man, that people have tried. Like you come in and people tell you a certain way of eating, and I sort of, you know, like I like to be scientific in the work I do as well, right? And so when someone comes in with this kind of crazy concept of a way that they're eating, I go, okay, well, let's unpack it. Let's look at actually what the theory is behind it and why it should work, right? I think that that's really important, because often when you're a consumer of this knowledge in social media and stuff, you're not presented with science. You're presented with before and after photos, and not really like looking at what's actually happening metabolically in the body. And I think helping my clients really understand that the science doesn't add up a lot is really important. I think, you know, food is like, our food and our need for food is so individual, right? Like there's no perfect way of eating. You know, people always ask me, what's the best way that you could eat? What's the best way for this? And like, sure, there's certain things that I really love people including in their diets, like legumes and vegetables. But at the same time, there's not one perfect way, because a lot of people can't tolerate legumes. Some people don't even like hummus. I mean, imagine that world. I can't even imagine that. But I guess the idea that there is an individual metabolic need for energy, that's really important. So this magic caloric number that goes out there, like, oh, I eat this many calories a day, and if you do that too, then you'll be this before and after photo as well. It's actually bullshit, because like what you need to survive in your daily output, you know, is different from what I need. And so to just base it around on like one number is just ridiculous. It's like absolutely ridiculous.
It kills me. And it's like the thought of all these diet books promoting that one way of eating that is meant to serve everybody is just insane. Like even what my body needs today is different to what it needed yesterday, and no diet book can tell me that, you know.
None. And it's really, it's fascinating the damage that those do, not just to our psyche and the setting yourself up to fail kind of picture, you know, like if you do this then you'll be X or Y or Z, you'll be the after photo. But at the same time, it's often unachievable pathways. So it reinforces the negative feelings in the body when you can't do that. And that's the thing that really upsets me. I mean, you know, it's that there's that study into the blue zones. I don't know if you know about the blue zones, but it's like they look at these people that live 100 years in all different parts of the world, right? Like from the tundras to the rainforest to the sea. And there's no one particular way of eating that they all eat. You know, like some of them are having like, they're living, they're like, you know, Eskimos, they eat fish only, they don't grow any vegetables. And then there's other people that just eat, like, you know, on Greek islands and lots of veggies and feta cheese and stuff. Like, so there's what is a good diet is really depending on who we are, like where we are, what we're doing every day, what our genetics are telling us to do. And I just think really understanding the body is so complex, and to make it as simple as, you know, 1,500 calories is just like missing the point of how beautiful our bodies can be when they're nourished and fed well. So
yeah, and I think what I'm hearing here is about this real focus on individualization. Like that is just something that's completely missed when it comes to diets.
Huge.
And yeah, everybody's body needs something different. Talking about that blue zone thing, I think what I've heard a little bit about that too is the one kind of common thread is community. I think that's what I heard or I read.
Yeah, how we eat, you know, it's not just what's on the plate, it's how we eat, who we eat with, when we eat, what, you know, like all these kind of things are so important. And you know, I work in the inner west. I've got a lot of Greek clients, and they go and they spend their summer in Greece, and they go to their Greek islands and they have like the best time ever, and then all their health concerns just disappear because they're like, it's true, it's crazy, like they feel great, they don't need their medicines, their blood pressure goes down, their digestion is great. And I'm like, so what are you doing differently? You know, like what was different? I mean, yes, holidays are relaxing and people often feel good, but you know, there's like real marked change about how they are. And I think it's got to,
that too. It's like often clients who have got like shoulder issues, or like they hold their tension up here, and they'll go on holiday and come back and it's just disappeared.
Yeah, exactly. So how stress, you know, that's just how stress impacts the body. And I think it's also really important to say, when we're looking at the science behind nutritional like evidence, right, between diets that work, is that very rarely are they doing these studies on women. Very rarely. Women are an enigma when it comes to scientific evidence, because we're so complicated and different. Like, and that's a wonderful thing about, we have hormones that change every day. Half the women are on the pill, half the women are pregnant, half the women have babies, haven't had babies, they're menopausal, this, to get a baseline.
Stuff going on there.
It's huge. So, you know, most medications and most nutritional studies are not done on women. So when you see this, like, oh, you know, this diet is fantastic and you'll lose weight, and here's the evidence to back it up, when you look at who that study was done on, 70-kilo men, you know, like with like in their 30s, you know, like that's literally what they have to do, because men are very consistent and simple.
Right.
So.
That's an interesting point. And I've learned through doing lots of work with Fiona Willer, who Rachel mentioned on her little chat yesterday, who does Unpacking Weight Science, the podcast. I've done a few courses with her and stuff. I've learned how to she digs into studies and really pulls apart what is actually true and what's kind of A-grade evidence that you can rely on, that you can get the right information from. Because on the outside we can just see these like you know, the media just portrays all these snippets of what, you know, a study showed this or research showed this, but if you pull it apart, there's often a lot more untruths under there, which I find fascinating. But
huge.
What is the common thread with the dieting sort of research is that it keeps coming back to this 95% of diets just don't work for most people. And from what I understand, that is a figure that has been in place, that has been replicated through lots of studies for like 50 years or 60 years or something. So that says a lot, right? And that's like buying a product that had 95% of failure. You know, it's unlikely we would do that, but yet we seem to keep going back to diets. So bringing it back to the member's question, so what you're sharing is just a reminder that the science doesn't really support diets, and that's also also a good point to mention that she also said that her experience with diets has not been good. So to sum
very
up,
rarely. And I think, you know, the trust of the process, you know, I work with people who are wanting to get from somewhere to somewhere else. You know, they have a health concern, they have mental health issues, they have something that they need to change. And the most important thing, and this is what I say to that member who has those concerns, is have faith in the unknown of the journey. Because we don't know, you know, like, and we don't know what's going to happen, but it's just one step in front of the other. And I think having the faith that it's okay to not know, is actually part of it. You know, to sometimes just sit there and go, okay, this is where I am, and this is where I start from, and then we go from there. Like a lot of time, like with diets, you start at the end, you start at the after photo, right? Rather than actually sitting and going, this is where I am right now, you know.
So do you have any specific points to kind of wrap up that you would love to offer her before we close down the session?
I guess, you know, the one thing, just to reiterate, that don't believe the magical diet hype. The science often does not back it up. It looks shiny, it looks wonderful, but you know that you can make anything shiny, and often the science isn't there. And I think
use the right words and the right pictures and the right before and after pictures and market it really well.
Even you know, the most intelligent, you know, person will be, that's why advertising works, right? Because it works. So the second thing I really encourage people to do is to just listen holistically to your body. And I think that's a very good mindful exercise to do. So often we think about different feelings that we have, bloating or a pain in our knee, and we, you know, a headache that we have, or period pain, and we don't connect it all together. And so being able to kind of connect, oh yeah, I've got this sore in my knee. Do you think that's because I didn't stretch properly yesterday? Or maybe I need to stretch, or maybe I didn't do, like just with softness, not with criticism, and just try and think of your body as this big connected being, because quite often my patients don't do that. And the medical world that we go to, you see a doctor for this, a doctor for that, a doctor for that, and you don't get to kind of like piece it all together. So having that holistic view of your body as this connected thing, from your mind to your appetite to your physical body, is actually a really great place to start. In that, this is where I am, and I think that that's a nice place to be. So
that's beautiful. That's very good advice, Hannah. Thank you. I'll be taking that on board myself, as always.
Look, we could all do it, like at the moment, the world is so weird and unsure. And I have to keep reminding myself in that to do that. So, and it's a process. It's never, no one ever gets it 100% right. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing with this, like sort of moving through this journey towards being more peaceful with your body. It's not like a lot of our speakers have said before too, it's not linear. It's like this process, it ebbs and flows and in and outs, and you just sort of embrace it all, like take that holistic approach with the journey with the body, and do it with kindness.
Yeah.
I love everything you've shared. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, can we just wrap up with how we can find you? Remind us of your website.
Yes, our website is new-leaf.com.au, but if you Google Hannah Boyd Naturopath or New Leaf, you'll find me. I'm still seeing clients online only at the moment, so and I'm kind of working sort of nearly every day. So if you're having trouble finding an appointment online, which you can book, there's that. But I'm also doing my community drop-in clinic virtually, which is starting next Tuesday. So that's a free clinic. And I should really start promoting that some more. So thanks for reminding me. But yeah, so basically I'm just trying to I do that in person once a month, but when I've got my clinic. But at the moment, online, you have to go on, you make an appointment, you turn up, I'm there, it's a free help, just a chat, whatever you want.
Cool. So that's such a lovely service. I'll definitely get all the details on that and share that as well. I'll share the link to your website. We'll look forward to having you again next week. We'll have another question for you if you're up for that.
Yes.
In the meantime, take good care. Thanks again. And
thanks, Anna. Bye.
Bye.